Welcome to the Overdrive Outdoors podcast,
your source for everything outdoors.
Let's kick it into overdrive.
Overdrive Outdoors podcast brought to you by Predator Hunter Outdoors. Whether you are new to predator hunting or looking to upgrade your equipment, Predator Hunter Outdoors will have you hunting after the sun goes down. Carrying a full line of lights, night vision, and thermal optics, along with tripods, calls, mounting systems, and more, check them out at www.predatorhunteroutdoors.com or on Facebook at Predator Hunter Outdoors. Use promo code OVERDRIVE2021 for 20% off your order. Want to lengthen your time in the field and shorten your scouting time? Not only does the HuntWise app show you property boundaries, landowners' names, and in some cases even their phone number, but using the app will show you the wind direction on the map of the place you want to hunt. And the HuntCast feature shows peak movement times for various species, including predators. Get the HuntWise app at www.huntwise.com, the Google Play Store, or the Apple App Store. For only $59.99 a year for Pro or $119.99 a year for Elite. Use promo code OVERDRIVE20 for 20% off an annual membership.
All right, everybody. Tonight we're here with Steve Thomas and once again my brother-in-law Clint with Sandy the Tracker. Tonight we're going to do a youth hunt recap. And I'll be honest, I'm going to wait till the end of it because I don't have much to tell. But we wanted to talk about our weekend. The three of us each had our kids out for the weekend, and two of us had good luck, and one of us didn't, and that's me. So, well, how are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
It was hot today. Would have been a good day to go scouting since I had vacation day today, but it was like 80-something degrees.
It was a little warm. The humidity wasn't too bad, though.
Yeah, it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't.
The sun, if you were in an area where the wind wasn't blowing, like I was digging today a little bit, it got a little warm, but once you got on the breeze, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
It was like a couple of weeks ago when you were sweating just trying to walk somewhere.
Steve, what do you do for a living?
I'm irrigation service manager, and as of right now, we are extremely low on help, so I get to schedule all my calls, bill all the calls, and do most of the calls. So
which irrigation during the summer involves a lot of digging and trenching.
Hence the digging part you just mentioned.
Yeah, we get to dig big holes and find broken stuff, fix it, and then bury the hole and move on to the next big hole we get to dig. So.
Which is probably the best about end of July into August. That's my favorite
that's great.
time.
That's my favorite time of the year.
I keep telling Alicia because she'll walk out. She was outside today in a sweater. Like, what the heck? What are you doing? I am roasting, dripping sweat sitting on the porch, and you're wearing a sweater.
I recently took this manager's position where I'm not supposed to be in the field as much and in the office kind of delegating, but that didn't really happen a whole lot. I find myself in the field a lot more than I do the office. So
because of lack of help?
Yeah, lack of help, big time. I mean, it's just extremely hard to find anybody that wants to
actually work.
One, work, and two, work hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, I mean, if you do hire a guy and you tell him he gets to run a shovel 5 days a week for 40 hours, and by about day 2, he's done.
Just disappears. Don't even see him. Like,
you don't see him. He doesn't call in.
I brought him here.
Do anything.
This was rough, guys.
Yeah. I don't like digging holes.
Clint, what do you do for a living?
I work for Vanguard Food Service, and basically, like, the guys that deliver stuff to the restaurants, that's what I do. But I do 2 overnights a week over to Wisconsin, over Milwaukee area, and North Chicago area. So.
And you work a lot of overnights.
Yeah. I'm most of the time. I work pretty much until about 11 in the morning, but I usually start at about 11 or midnight. So work about 12 hours, and then I'll shut down, take a 10-hour break, and usually pick up a backhaul and come back. So.
Yeah, I decided yesterday, looking at my workload, I'm a CNC machinist, and I looked at what I had, and I'm like, I'm going to take a vacation day, and I sent you a message saying,
Yeah.
fishing tomorrow and 2 weeks in a row.
Hey.
Fishing tomorrow, I'm not going to be home till 1. I can't go fishing at 1 when it's 95 degrees out.
Sorry, I'll go, but
But I...
Fish don't really like to bite around 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. when it's 95 degrees out.
Well, I'd gone fishing last Friday, and I could not get my motor to run. I've got a little Johnson 9.9, and it would not fire. So I've been working on that for close to a week now, just dicking around with it, trying to get it to run. And this morning, I couldn't go fishing because I didn't have a running boat. I could have trolled, but that irritated me last week. I trolled around the lake for 5 hours just trying to get to spots as fast as I could at 1.5 miles per hour.
if you're lucky.
Yeah. So I was messing around with that last night, and then I woke up this morning and ate breakfast and went back out there and started messing with it. And I think I had a bad carb or clogged carb, so I cleaned it out yesterday. Then today I was working on the adjustments to the carb. And I finally got that sucker to fire. And then I pulled my pull starter right off, the rope. So I took it apart, rewrapped the rope, set it all back up, pulled it like 3 times, and snapped the plastic gear on the bottom of the pull start. And for anybody that doesn't know why a boat is, everybody says bust out another 1,000. For that one piece of plastic, it's $60. So I didn't go fishing today. I've sat around the house all day doing pretty much nothing but messing with that and sitting around listening to music. And I wanted to go scouting, and I have a couple trail cameras that I want to go pull, but I wasn't doing that in this heat today.
There for a second, I thought you were talking about, because you were talking about your boat. I thought, well, no, that was my boat we took out when it was raining like cats and dogs.
Oh, God.
That was funny.
God, that was last week. So
Wednesday.
So we had talked about that, though, probably the week before.
Yeah.
Yeah, on a Tuesday. 'Cause
Yeah.
we do a lot of family dinners on Tuesday.
Yep.
And it was, you want to go scouting next Wednesday? Yeah, sure. We'll go down the river.
Yeah.
And, oh, man.
It was nice. It wasn't super hot.
No, but we ran into a lot of unexpected,
Yeah.
which we won't get into too much, but there's a dude spending a lot of time in the area that we went and scouted.
Yeah.
I think I was on my way home from work when that pop-up storm
Oh.
came in.
Man,
That
it
And
was.
it went from nothing to wipers on high.
Yeah.
Can't see where you're going in about
And we were on the river.
2.5 seconds.
We're on the river and we're coming around and there's this little
Well,
shop.
it was 80 degrees that day, 75 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You bring a sweater, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
I wasn't stupid.
He's like, well, I'm not, the sweater will help
Was
me
it
not get eaten.
was it a bug defense?
Oh yes, it
Yeah,
was.
exactly.
I was sweating my butt off, but man, I'll tell you what, I was not getting bit like he
Oh,
was.
no, I was getting
I grew up on
violent.
that river. I
Yeah.
know what goes
Yep.
down there.
Yeah, so we go down this river.
It was bad, dude.
We went probably, half mile down the river probably from where we launched.
It was probably closer to a mile.
Down or up?
It was up, wasn't it?
No, down.
I don't know. It was
Down?
west.
That's down.
Yeah, west. West is down. Yeah.
Okay, so we were down
Up's where
the
it
river.
starts, down is where it ends.
No,
Well, I know where you launched.
Yep.
I asked him the other day if you ever hit where it forks and you get the big island at the log jams. Because I used to
That's
love catfishing right there.
That's where
back
we
in the
went
day.
in last year when we floated.
Okay.
yeah, because we floated.
We
on the
floated
river
it
with
last
my
year,
cousin.
and we only seen one. Well, you seen one when you kicked one up, but anyways, we seen a lot of sign in there, so that's kind of the whole reason we wanted to go back down there. Because me and Josh earlier this year we did that video,
Yeah.
and we did some
7.5
tracking,
miles.
and it was all on the west side of where we ended up going last Wednesday. We never even got over there because we were probably 3/4 of a mile from where we were on this area of state land. But anyway, so
That's a big flat down there.
it is huge, and there's a lot of growth in there, like big trees too.
But somebody's hunting it so much harder
Yes,
than we would have ever
I
expected.
could. I did not. This person took time to cut trails through this whole.
Have you ever walked from that launch where he launched? And
Yeah,
take
that trail. Yeah,
But like followed it all the way?
yeah.
because it goes and
See, I've
goes
never
and goes
walked
and
it,
goes.
but we pushed the first point where that trail goes back to, and that's the only spot that we know we jumped a deer last year.
Yeah.
I've turkey hunted that whole flat bottom.
It ends up
Along
going
that
to an
river?
oxbow, probably almost a mile off.
Yeah, but that trail will
Yeah.
go down, it'll fork, and you'll go, and it'll fork, and you'll go, and it'll fork, and there's all these little clear-cut areas
Yeah.
of little fields in
Yeah.
there
Yep.
that people love to turkey hunt,
That's
and
where I
that's what
was
I
last
used to
year.
do. And it gets a lot of traffic down there, but
Yeah.
Do you remember when I said I'm going into this deep spot?
I do, and you walked in from the road.
I walked in.
Should have called the guys that grew up over there. We would have told you, hey,
was like-
there's a trail right
You
there.
could have took the trail, dude.
So I walked into this spot, and it off the road. I mean, it's nasty shit back
Yeah,
there.
Oh,
that's why there's
yeah.
a trail in
Yeah,
there.
well, I didn't know there was a trail, so I
yeah.
walked. I left like, I don't know, 1, 2 o'clock, and I got in there, and I had like an hour and a half walk through this swamp.
I remember.
And then I get
Message
there, and
you
I'm
made.
like, man, this little field looks kind of nice. And then I'm looking at the maps, and at the end of the night, I hadn't seen a deer, of course, because I busted them all out walking through the swamp. So at the end of the night, I walked to the end of this field, and I'm like, oh, well, the DNR have a trail all the way back here,
Yep.
completely mowed, completely cut.
Well, yeah.
Uh-huh.
That would have been a whole lot nicer, but if I would have known that too, I never would have ventured back there
Yeah,
because it's too easy access.
but it's good memories, and
Yeah, good.
you get to see some good land. I mean,
Yeah.
Good time.
Well, because it
but if you would have asked, we would have
Would've
told
told
you. There's a trail to get down
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
Well,
man.
because after we got done scouting this area, which
Man.
right on that corner there where the bayou ends or starts,
Yeah.
we're coming back up. Well, it got real thin there, and I could feel it. You know, the bottom of the
Little
it was
boggy.
hitting sand, and
Oh, it was a foot deep.
yeah, it was like a foot and a half deep. So we're cruising along, and I knew I needed to keep up speed, but I unlocked the motor so it would, you know, if I hit anything, it would go up. You know.
Oh, yeah, and then we jumped the log.
Josh is like, he goes, log, and that's all he says. So I immediately
You're
turn.
going straight at it.
So I turn, and we just go whoop, right over the log, and
But we got air.
we got air.
Was it a log like pointed straight up like this?
And
Yeah,
it was
almost.
coming like if you were going downriver.
I have history with that log.
If you're coming downriver, it would have been like straight at your boat. So we
No,
kind of
upriver it was straight at our boat when we were going
I
back
was
to
gonna say,
the log.
if
Oh, it
it's
was?
upriver, it's straight at your boat.
Yeah.
If it's the log, I'm
Right
thinking
at the
about.
point where it
Yeah.
breaks off right or goes
Uh-huh.
left.
yeah,
Yeah.
the river takes a hard
Yeah.
goes like that, and that's where we were coming.
I almost flipped a 12-foot aluminum boat on that log one time.
Oh, we got air.
We got
We're
air.
off the water.
I spent a lot of my younger days catfishing that stretch of river
Yeah.
all night long.
Yeah.
We would go out just before dark,
Yeah.
and we would come in just after daylight, and we'd go out there and catch flatheads was our target.
Yeah.
And one night, I was flying back to the truck. I had like a 6-horse Evinrude and a 12-foot
So
aluminum.
he wasn't flying.
Flying.
Well, I mean,
3 mile an hour.
you know,
It was wound out, but
still, I had a 6-horse Evinrude, opened up, 2 guys in the boat, me in the back, and the dude sitting in the front because I'm a big guy, and if I don't have somebody in the boat, that boat wants to kick up a little bit. We're flying up. We hit that log that points right
Yeah.
just straight up, and
Right
I
in
caught
the
it
middle.
straight on. That whole boat just rocked over to the left. I mean,
until it finally slid off the front end
Yeah.
of the boat.
it almost rolled. Like, it almost rolled. Scared me to
We
death.
hit it perfectly.
We
It
hit
goes
it perfect.
straight up in the air
Yeah.
and over.
Yeah. So
I
we
caught her a little bit to the side.
and it starts raining, and granted, we still got another.
It wasn't raining. It was monsooning.
It was big. And I got my hoodie on, so I'm like, it's great, man. This is comfy. Well, Josh has got that little thin
I
little.
got that. I've got Chris Wakefield hooked me up with one of those rhino skin, the mosquito repellent ones, and
Yeah.
it's really nice for walking around. But man, when it starts raining,
And it was a cold rain. Josh is going.
It's all skinny now, so yeah.
sometimes it felt like
I-
rain was coming right up from underneath.
It was coming down, man. And I
Forrest
mean,
Gump.
it just kept raining. And it's like you look everywhere else and the sun's shining.
Yeah.
But right where we're at.
I did that like 3 times. Like, this is a
Josh's
big old,
dirt cloud following him up the river.
this is a big old fat
Fat
rain.
rain. Yep.
But no, so we, we basically X'd off that whole
Yeah, which,
big section.
but I would rather exit off now than
Yeah.
of went in there during season and actually.
Thinking we were going to have
Yeah,
some good
wasting
luck.
time
Yeah.
when you could actually
Yeah.
hunt it. Yeah.
And there's
I
a
can
whole
understand
lot
that.
of areas around there, too, to
that
hunt.
he hasn't got to.
That-
Well,
we found a bunch of them in the spring, and when we went on that float hunt with my cousin, we found a bunch of good areas down there.
Yep.
It's just
the access
what's
to
not
them
getting hit.
and what is. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that guy can only go so far until you get that other branch that comes up in.
Well,
which we used to call the log jams
Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah. Down in the
And-
bayou.
Yeah. You get to the log jams and it splits again.
Yep.
And there
And
might
that
be
was an
people.
awesome catfishing spot, but
Yeah.
Right.
he
there,
can't get no further than that.
there might be people on here that know where we're talking about, and we don't really care because it's all public, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of room to run out there. But we found a lot of sign going towards one area, which I think was that west on that swamp.
Yes.
So it was like a big oxbow kind of bank where we were, but then the deer sign all seemed to go into an area that you could see like cattails and marsh grass.
Switchgrass.
Right.
Yeah.
Switchgrass, yeah.
So if this guy's coming off the river, we were talking about it, we could come in from above that and get in on the other side.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could tell where he was stopping.
Yeah.
He wasn't going into the swamp.
Yeah.
He was butting up to it,
Yep.
but he wasn't going through that.
And
so
And the thing is I mean, that's a huge area. Just
It
that
is.
section he was on, I mean, just that alone is probably like 300, 400 acres,
yeah.
give or take.
And my experience growing up hunting there, that was like the first grounds I ever hunted.
Yeah.
And I would always push down in there, and there was never any deer down there, like a good amount of them.
Yeah.
From
Early
the
season.
riverside or from above?
No, like I would go,
From above.
I would go from up above down to river,
Okay.
Yeah.
down in there, and early season there was never any deer up there. They're up
They're not
top.
gonna push.
Yep.
They're up
You
top
go.
on the food
Yep.
Yeah. They're
until
not
the
as
pressure comes.
Yep.
And
That's exactly
you
what.
get close to gun season.
Yep.
And the acorns, all your white oaks, everything, they've ate all of that.
Yep.
Now they're down in the bottom.
And that's what exactly.
All the people come in and push them down in there.
That's what we
And I
do.
think that's like, that's a great late bow season, opening day of gun season area.
Well,
down
and all
in
the
there.
pressure's up on top.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
If you think about it, like, remember when you came over and where I was hunting last year, the end of the year?
Yeah.
And I told you how many deer I was seeing. It's the same exact kind of setup. You know, you got the up above where all the food is, and then you got that nice comfy area down there. That was the same exact setup, and there was so many deer up there. I mean, down there. I mean,
Yeah.
I would see, because I had access to it from private, and it was all private there where we're hunting, but there was like I said, it was probably, it wasn't nothing for me to, in an afternoon sit, see 40 deer. And
Yeah.
probably 5 or 6 of them were bucks. I mean, granted, I was hunting with bow late season, so, but no, that area down there, like I said, the first big buck I ever shot was a mile away from there. That 13 point I shot.
And I think that was right next to my aunt's house,
It might have been.
honestly, because
It's landlocked on the one
Yeah.
street, but on the other street, there's a little sliver that you can get to it.
oh no.
Josh is showing us pictures of.
Yeah.
A wall hanger.
My-
That's
my
a coat hanger you could take. You could hang 2 coats on them.
My reveal's going off right now, and this is the first buck I've gotten, and this is in that swamp that we all scouted with Ayla at the beginning
Oh,
of the year.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
150 yards off the road. So,
Is it a spiker? Is it a 4?
No, he's a-
What is it?
he's a 4, I think. He's got brown.
Well, he's at least a 3.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this-
Shooter. He's a shooter.
It's a wall hanger.
But
You can hang your keys on it. You can hang your coat on it.
So, last week, I mean, all week, I was at work going, God, if this keeps up, this is going to be a good youth hunt. Because it was 49 degrees on Thursday morning, I think, when I woke up for work.
it was
Oh, yeah,
beautiful.
it was beautiful.
And then Saturday morning,
It was like 70.
yeah, so we had like a heat wave come through, but that was the
We
only,
lucked out. I was.
Yeah, I mean, so let's get into the youth hunt.
Okay.
You know, like I said, I'll go last and tell about our little story because it doesn't last very long. But Clint, why don't you go ahead and tell us your story with Ayla, and then
I'll just
Clint,
start with my weekend.
Yeah, and Clint is again with Sandy the tracker, and Sandy is. Go ahead and explain her again.
She's a plot hound mix. She's an X breed, but X breed means that they're mixed. So, but she's papered. But we track with her and we recover wounded deer. I mean that's what we do. People call us, be like, hey, shot at blah blah blah. Explain to us what exactly happened as far as all the information we can get on the shot placement and what the deer did and all that, and then we go from there. Because usually over the phone, I can usually been doing it long enough that I can tell what they're explaining to me, and so.
But Sandy, you guys were offering a free recovery.
Yes, we were offering. Basically, we do it every year. For the youth and veterans, it's always free during the youth and veteran hunt weekend.
That's awesome.
Which that's within 30 miles. So, but even after the 30 miles, we do it at half rate. So it's still really cheap. So
you guys got to make
that's pretty
something
incredible.
Yeah,
though, you know.
because we got to. We can't.
Gas isn't cheap anymore under
no,
this
that's
new administration.
You gotta at least cover your costs.
Yes, and so, but we still try to make it reasonable. But so me and Ayla, we got up.
What were you hunting this weekend?
We were hunting as far as property.
Yeah, I mean, what was your property layout?
We have basically 40 acres, and it's got about. I want to say it's about 10 of it is woods, and then the rest of it is all crop, which is corn this year, which we haven't had corn like I think 3 years. We haven't had corn, so it really holds them. And then the neighbor's property behind us, they didn't plant anything this year, and they have like 80 acres, and which is not normal.
Like
so
weed.
They didn't
field
plant.
or what?
They usually have corn or beans, and they did not have.
It's just a weedy, grassy.
Yeah, and it's not even.
Field.
Yeah,
I'm
it's not
seeing
even
more and more in them this year.
Yeah, and it's not even tall enough to be like a CRP field or where bedding can be. But anyways, I've had several bucks on camera, decent ones, and Ayla, I told her, I said, you can shoot anything you want, that's kind of my thing,
How old is Ayla?
She's 9 years old, and she likes to use crossbow.
And this is her second
year. Last year she got that little 7-point in full velvet.
Nice.
And
I remember that.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That was a good one. Talk about that's something that I think the youth hunt I think is very special because like just seeing your kid or even the kid's face light up when they do get their hands on that animal. You'll hear later on when I explain, but Saturday morning we get out there. I think we got out there about 5. It was pretty wet for us because it was so cool during the day Friday, and then the humidity kicked in like early Saturday morning. And so we get out there and we were soaked. Well, luckily she had her thick stuff on, but we got to the stand and it was quiet for us. We seen a cat and that was it. Yeah. That's all we seen. And I think it was the weather change that really screwed us up down here. I don't know where Steve was hunting, but we didn't see anything. Got out of she made it till about 9:30 and she had to pee. So,
I get that.
Yeah, needless to say, we had to get down. I'm like, really? I showed her pictures. Like, we got pictures of deer coming through here at 10:30, 11 o'clock. But they don't understand that. So, which I'm about to get down, and I get a call from the gentleman that his son had shot a deer down in it was Vicksburg area, and asked me if I'd come out and track. And he said he had a bunch of white hair at shot site, and he said deer buckled and mule kicked, and said went running off. He said he didn't see him once he ran in the woods, which was like 5 feet. So I said, all right. I said, I'm trying to get out of the woods right now with my daughter. I said, so it's going to be a little bit before I get down there. And so we get down, and I go home, get both the dogs. I get Sandy and I got Penny. She's in training right now because we always bring her with us just in case it's an easy track. Then we can get her out there on it and kind of run her and let her get some experience. And
Right.
Now, what is Penny?
Penny is a plot. She's full-blooded plot.
And she's gorgeous.
Yeah, we do a lot of. If you get on our page, Sandy the Tracker, we got
You're gonna
pictures
see
of her.
Clint's wife
Yeah,
a lot with
Yeah.
pictures of her.
yeah. We do a lot of the coon world with her and showing her. So, but
She's a gorgeous dog.
yeah, we loaded them both up and we went down there and I get over there and I look at the shot site and he was using a 350 Legend and I think he was using the Winchester. I want to say it was 165 grain whitetails. The
American whitetail.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Okay.
And he, what do you call it? Get to the shot site, anyways, and I look and it's real short white hairs, which tells me it's low belly. That's what I figured.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking when you said
Yeah.
the white hair.
Low belly. I'm like, okay. I was like, and it was quite a bit of it, but all the blood I was seeing was real. It was darker blood, and for those that are listening, I mean, I see more tracks than most people see in their lifetime in one season.
Right.
So, we see a lot. I've seen a lot of blood, and usually I can look at blood and I can usually tell you what it's from. I have a good idea. And
I mean, on my buck last year, you knew right away that I had hit liver
yeah,
somewhere along the line.
yeah, that's what I said. I said it looks like liver and lung to me.
I'll trust Clint's judgment over blood more than
And
I would
it's-
trust my own.
And it's hard for me still because I've tracked a lot of deer without a dog too, and it's just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah. Well, the bigger thing, like you said, it's hard. But the thing is I can coincide with once you get to the deer and you see where it's shot, it reassures you that your guess on what. Because literally, it is a guess, but it's becoming more.
Yeah,
I'm
but it's
becoming more.
educated guess.
Yes, I'm becoming more educated with what blood I'm looking at.
You're right.
So, and there was seriously 10 feet of and they were drops. They were just. There was hardly any blood. So, and the thing that really threw mind you, this was Sandy's first live track of the year, so it's always.
It's been almost 10 months.
Yeah, I mean we've done practice tracks with her, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't care who says it's the same. It's not. So we get out there, and you can't practice that, especially because there was two deer.
Well, and that's one thing in a practice track. It's a controlled environment.
Yes, exactly.
In real live, I shot a deer. I need a deer tracker.
Yep.
It's not controlled anymore.
No. Well, for instance, this first one we went to, he said the two bucks came in. One was smaller, and he shot. And he said both bucks ran the same way, but then the other one came back out. That, of course, wasn't shot. I'm assuming, and kind of walked around and then went right back in, right where he ran off. So
that's like Joe's buck.
So you got 2 scent trails.
yes,
essentially.
and the thing is that my dog does not know when that deer steps in that blood. The one that wasn't shot, and tracks it that way. So it's the same thing when somebody is walking in the woods looking for the deer. The more you muck it up, the harder you make it on my dog. It just takes us longer, and sometimes it makes it impossible. But anyways, I ran her a couple times, being the first one. You got to trust your dog, and you just let her go. And she kept going towards the corner of this field across the way, and I just wasn't seeing anything. I didn't feel real good because she wasn't working like I like her to work, and I knew she wasn't working it like she should. She didn't have her. What I mean by that is she didn't have her nose down, and she was more scenting, which you can find deer scenting, but in the long term, what happens if there's no wind and it's dead calm?
Well, and you told me earlier too that the wind was in her face.
Yes.
Right, on this one.
Yes, it was in her face. The way we were tracking was in her face. So I finally get her back over there, and she finally takes me. She takes me straight across the field, and we go across the field. And granted, this is like an hour and a half later, mind you. And it's straight across the field, and we go over, and all of a sudden I see this little bit of blood, and then I cross this little fence or this tree that had fallen over this trail, and all of a sudden I can see where he had bedded up, and then I see a huge, I don't know, it wasn't huge, probably basketball-sized thing of blood. All right, it looks pretty good. I smelled it, and it smelled gutty to me, and I was like, okay. And then by that time I was hot. It was 80-something degrees by then.
Yeah.
I was sweating. I mean,
Right.
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
yeah, Josh knows me.
Midday.
It doesn't take much for me to sweat.
No.
So, and so I let Kate take over for a second, and I could tell Sandy was on it. She was getting on it, and it was getting thick. And I usually don't like to send Kate through real thick stuff. It's easier for me to get torn up, you know.
Right.
So I go through it, and we're going through there, and I was like, blood, you know. Every time I see blood, I tell them, because that's the way I work. Is Kate will, if she's with me, I'll say blood, and she'll come up to where I seen the last blood, and she'll stay there. And it's just, it's easier for us. And,
We didn't mark the last.
yep.
Yeah, you always
Last
have
spot.
a reference point at the
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely.
So we keep tracking, you know, and I'm kind of squatting down. And that's the only thing that sucks about tracking. Is you don't have the vantage point that a dog does, because the dog is below everything and it can see.
Well,
you
and
know.
in Michigan with a dog tracker, you have to keep her on the lead, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. When you're tracking deer, you are required by the state I know for a fact on state land, they have to be on a leash.
But it can be a long lead, though, right?
Yeah, I run a 30-foot lead.
Yeah.
I run a 30-foot lead.
But that dog will take you around some twists
Oh,
and turns
buddy.
and
Oh,
corners
you
and
don't. Yeah.
thorn bushes because
Yeah,
doesn't
I can
care
only
about
imagine.
you.
Yeah, it looks like I have, I got all kinds. But
It's like
anyways.
when I carry my beagles.
Yeah,
Back
exactly. Exactly. So we go through, and, you know, I got my head down because I'm trying to fit through this stuff and trying to keep stuff from poking me in the eye and whatnot. And all of a sudden I look up and I hear something move, and Sandy starts barking, and this deer's on its front legs, but its ass is sitting on the ground, and he's just looking back at me like, what are you going to do, man? You know?
Uh-oh.
And Sandy's just, you know, going nuts. I'm like, okay. So I pull her back, I get her back, and by that...
This was a private land.
Yes, this was a private land. So by that time, Kate gets up there, and she sees him, and he kind of jumps through this, like, opening where he was into this opening, and I couldn't see him because it was real thick right in front of me. And Kate's like, oh, his guts are hanging out. And I see him run away. He stood there for about 2-3 minutes, and then he's like, all right, I'm out of here. And he runs off about, I don't know, 80 yards. So at this time, that's when I had Kate take Sandy, and she took Sandy back to the truck, and me and the father will go out, and we go and look for it, and sure enough, he was bedded about it was about 80 yards past that
From where you
from where it jumped him. And he basically was he was quartering away hard. The guy told me, he's like, yeah, he's perfectly broadside, and you know, it happens, but it was dark. It was first light. That's basically what it was. And the kid had gutted him basically with that bullet, and then it went into the opposite leg and just destroyed that back leg.
So it was a hard quartering two shot.
Hard quartering too, and just destroy. I mean, he
And
had,
low.
Yeah, it was real
Right,
low.
yeah.
He had probably, the guts were almost hitting the ground. So
Yeah. So it was, I mean, being a kid, I mean, a lot of what I do with my kids is, and last year with Carter's doe, that's proof to it. I could not tell exactly, just fast enough when that deer stopped, where to put that arrow, because I would have told Carter to put it right on that shoulder.
Yeah.
Because those ram cats that we shoot, if you don't hit the bone, the main joint of the shoulder, you're blowing through that shoulder blade.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure.
And Carter did what I had always taught him, which is shoot behind the shoulder.
Yeah.
Well, when it's quartering to you even slightly, that right behind the shoulder is a one long and out gut or liver.
If you want, I don't mean to interrupt you, but if you have questions about that and quartering away, take your target home and quarter it to you, and try to hit where you think you're hitting. You will see what I see it all the time, and people don't realize that. Anytime a deer's quartering away, that the surface is not flat to you.
Yep.
It's at an angle. So you might be aiming there, but it's going to go left. So, you know, if he's quartering to you with the front end towards you and the rear end, you know, away. So
I've lost too many deer on a quartering towards me shot. I won't even take it anymore.
Yeah.
A quartering away, I'll take that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Well, and I've heard a lot recently in the last couple of years with this, and I'm not calling it a hoax, whatever, but the ranch fairy. He's talking all these heavy arrow setups, so you
Yeah,
can
the
pass
FOC,
through
yeah.
anything, you know. And there's a lot of guys taking straight on shots at deer. If you feel comfortable with it, more power to you.
Yeah.
I
I'm
don't
not.
feel comfortable with it.
I don't.
There's such a small margin of error. I mean, Clint, if you're shooting at a deer straight on, you're trying to go between the shoulder blades
Yep.
and pass it right straight through the brisket. And that, to me, that deer's going to pass you or turn at some point.
Yep.
No.
So I would just err on the side of being patient, and if you don't get to shot, then it wasn't meant to be that night.
Exactly.
And and you listeners, you'll see this video come up. I told my son to pass on that shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the front face. She's
The
looking.
front
don't
face.
take,
She's
yep.
looking right at us.
Don't take that shot.
And I made him pass that shot to take the one that was actually broadside.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I'm not comfortable with the front facing shot because I've taken that shot and I tracked that deer all over the countryside and I never found him, and he's probably the third largest buck I've ever shot in my life.
Well, and when you're aiming at that, you have some of the thickest bone on a deer. If you're too low,
Right.
you're hitting brisket.
And when I shot that deer, I was on the ground, running late, and I grunted him in. He was hot on the trail. I grunted him in. He came back and crossed probably 300 yards of alfalfa to get within 20 yards of me. And I let one fly. And I chased blood for ever.
Yeah.
And I lost that deer. And I was sick for days.
That's how it goes. So that was your morning, though.
Yeah, that was my morning. So
You had no deer seen.
Nope,
that
we
first
didn't
morning,
see no
made
deer.
a successful recovery on a youth
Yep.
hunter's deer that
Yep.
day. And then we get into the evening. How did your morning go, Steve?
Our morning,
Where were you at? What kind of ground were you hunting?
we live in North Allegan County. We're about 2 blocks south of the county line, so the extreme North Allegan County. We had a 2-hour and 15-minute drive north, Mason County, basically north of Ludington, between Ludington and Manistee. My son got invited to some incredible property up north. I mean, it's just, the amount of deer you'll see up there is just phenomenal. Ground I don't get a chance to hunt, but being a kid,
yep.
people invite you up. So we got extremely lucky, and we seen 9 deer in the morning, and it was barely daylight. And this property, it's 160 acres, surrounded by, there's hardwoods, there's corn, there's beans, there's hayfield, there's a little bit of everything. It's like a perfect setup, really. And we got set up, and there's me and I call him my brother, he's about my best friend, John Barnsey.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He
He's
is.
Army, right?
Yeah, he is. Yep, he's Army. He's, deployed a lot. But he built the gun that my son's hunting with. And me, him, and my son got up in one of these, I'll call it a tower blind because it's basically what it is. It's a big tower, heated. It's fancy hunting.
You didn't have the heater going on Saturday morning, right?
No, it was a little warm.
We would have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alicia would have definitely.
Heater was not going. All windows were open. But about the time the sun started cracking the horizon, we could hear deer below us. And, we're sitting there. I tell my son, I'm like, I can hear one coming. Something's coming in.
How high up was this blind?
Probably 25.
So it was way up there.
Oh, yeah, you're way up there. From about window level where your gun would be rested on is about 25 foot.
Yeah, that's way up there for blind.
Yeah, they're
If you're gonna do it, do it right.
Yeah.
They jack them up there. They're really nice. Like I said, we were spoiled, and we get up there, and we can hear this deer come through. We got all the windows open, and we got a shooting lane pointing straight east, which is the way we're facing. We got a shooting lane pointing straight south. We got a shooting lane pointing straight north.
So you pretty much have the wagon wheel set up.
Yeah, pretty much. And you got these, and it was all like poplar, aspen trees, thickets that were in between your shooting lanes, and they're thick, like super thick, and you can hear the deer coming through them. And I tell my son, I said, "Hey, I can hear something coming down below us." You can hear it come through, and all of a sudden you hear, like,
It's like, really?
really?
First thing in the morning.
Right away, that's the first thing we get. We get one blowing, and my son's like, he's holding his hands up, and like, something's blowing at us. They must have crossed our scent trail because the wind wasn't even blowing in that direction. You know, the wind was complete opposite.
Yeah.
And this deer stood in that little patch of woods. You could hear her stomp, and you could hear her blow for a solid 10 minutes. And she stands out in our shooting lane, and I got video, which will be in what we post here soon. This doe comes out, and she's in bow range. If she's 18 yards, maybe, from the window, and she stands out there, and she just looks at the window of the blind.
Like, hey.
And she just stares and
I'm not
stares
stupid.
and stares. And she goes to walk away, and she turns around, and she comes back, and she stares at the window. And she blows, and she stomps, and she turns around, she comes back, and my son's already like, can I shoot her? You know, usually, yeah, that's the one to get rid
She
of.
blows, she goes.
Josh.
A little bit of backstory here. My son is 8. It's his 3rd youth hunt, and he has killed 2 does previously to this year. And going into this youth season, he told me he wants a buck. So
And you had high expectations.
We did. We had really high expectations for this year. And because we're going into this extremely populated area where there's been numerous large, decent bucks.
Now,
Blast in the
question,
evening.
is there a point restriction then, Mason?
There is. Yeah.
Okay.
3
I
on
wasn't
one side.
sure.
But for a youth hunter, I don't believe any APR
No.
exists.
No.
You're
right.
also right, but I was still going to hold Hunter to the standard
Okay.
Yeah.
of the 3 or better on one side.
And they've been doing that for what, 3 years up there? 4 years?
At least.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but
Well, I was
it's
just
been a while
wondering. I
now,
was just
yeah.
wondering because I know North has always been. That's been one of the stereotypes of hunting up north. This is always small bucks. There's never.
Yeah.
And I know since I like
It's getting better.
Leland. Is it?
Leelanau County?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, you know me. I know they have been seeing big returns from having that up there.
They have.
But anyway, sorry. I was just.
Oh, you're fine.
I had a question about that.
There is, so yes, that is true. Anybody, normal tag hunter for a buck, it's got to be at least 3 points on one side. And the whole point of inviting Hunter up this year is he's already shot 2 does. We're going to start making him getting a little bit selective on what he shoots. Not the first doe that walks through. And so, he wanted to shoot the first doe at daylight. No. We're just going to...
Dad was tempted though.
Yeah. This is
If she blows, she goes in my book.
a little bit of a learning lesson right now.
Yeah. No.
And that was number 1. And we ended up seeing 9 throughout the morning and no antlers whatsoever.
All antlerless and fawn.
Yeah. And it was all does and fawns. And at one point, we had a solo fawn come through that was so small, it was under the ferns.
That's pretty tiny.
It was super. I just showed Josh this video the other day. In the video you can see the ferns shaking.
You're like,
And barely the head of
And-
like, is it a porcupine?
yeah.
There's a stump of a tree in the background that this deer is shorter than.
Yeah.
It'll go through, and then all of a sudden it hits a high ground, and you can see its little tiny head
That'd be a
poke out.
dwarf.
And it's just chewing on the braze that's down.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're actually grazing on down there, but it wasn't the ferns, but it was a little tiny thing. But yeah, we've seen 9 in the morning and
What time did you guys get out of the woods?
10.
10.
We finally got down at 10, and he was starting to get a little restless at that point.
That was my
8 years
biggest
old.
problem with Ayla is we're in a stand and we're in the wide open, a double, and kids that age, they don't really. I try to teach her, when you move slow. No,
Yeah.
she's raising her arm, moving it around, and I'm
Yeah.
like, Ayla, if you want to see it, you gotta quit moving.
Dude, Carter Saturday morning on the walk-in found a hawk feather. Exactly. So we're sitting there in the woods not seeing anything.
He's like,
And out of the corner of my eye, I see a hawk feather flying back and forth. Like,
I'm playing, man.
just waving all around. And I'm like, what are you doing? Well,
I don't know,
he
being a
doesn't have
kid.
reason for it. He's just being a kid.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
but it's so hard.
But
though.
it was his hunt.
Yeah, it
So
was.
I was really trying this year to go off. It's your hunt.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
hunt it your way. If you want to wreck it by moving all over the place
Yep.
and making, I hunted differently.
Yep.
I mean, you were in a stand first morning.
Yep.
You were in a blind.
Yep.
I was on the ground
Yeah.
with no cover but a log
Yep.
and a crossbow.
And that's what I've done the last 2 years. First year I was kind of, the very first year I really wanted him to get one, so I was a little bit more, kind of critical of what he did.
Yeah.
Yep.
And actually last year I let him pick out the spot that last evening, and we ended up getting one.
Yep. And that's a hard thing as us all being hunters.
is.
It is so, and that's what I finally realized, because we sat on the ground Saturday night also.
Yeah, go in
And-
Saturday night
well,
because neither of you had luck Saturday morning, and
No.
I mean, I'll
And-
tell my story
and
here in a little bit. but-
Saturday night, we didn't see anything. We sat on the ground. She wanted to sit on the ground, and the biggest reason she don't want to sit on the ground in the morning is because it's dark. So we sat on the ground and we didn't see anything. And she's like, Dad, I told her, because Weta had messaged me and said,
when he said,
I'm sorry, I
"That's
apologize."
My wife.
That is what I call her. That's all.
That's what everybody in her family is.
I've always known her as Weta, so I apologize. It's because I'm horrible with names, and her name is Alicia, and her sister's Ashley, and I always say one wrong, so it's just easier calling her Weta. I apologize. But anyways, so she had messaged me and asked me about, because you didn't have no internet service out there to look up last shooting
This was
light.
in the evening.
Yeah, it's Saturday night, so I did. I had service, so I looked it up, and
Well, this is for anybody listening. This is research I should have done prior.
yeah.
I should have had it saved in my phone.
I had it
book.
saved in my phone.
And I didn't. I was sitting out there and it was 7:30 or something. And
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I need to know when he can.
Yeah.
Last fire
But you
this
still
gun
found
off.
out, and I sent you a picture of it, so you had it.
Yep.
But he was asking me last night, so I knew what time we need. We couldn't shoot anymore or whatever. And I told Ayla's like, well, how much more time do we got? How much longer? And I said, well, we got about 15 minutes. And she's like, well, why don't we get up and kind of walk out, and maybe we can see something on the edge of the field, and maybe be able to get a shot. And I was like, well, that's not a bad idea. It's almost dark, and plus we were in the woods, and it gets way darker, way faster. I don't know how anybody could shoot at last light in the woods, but
Yeah, for
anyways. So we start walking out, and we got corn in our field, and there's about an acre of the backfield that there's woods on both sides of the field, of the corn. So we're scooting up along the one side that opens up to alfalfa or a hay field, and we just come over this little knoll, and there's one standing right there on the edge of the corn, looking right at us. He's probably I think it was a small 6-point.
Well, and by the time you get out there, even if it's 10 minutes before, quote, legal light in the woods, it's darker than crap in the woods, but you get out to that field, you can still see.
Oh yeah, you can see
time.
after shooting light or
Yeah.
shooting
Oh,
hours
sure.
too.
And that's why it's important to know.
Know exactly what time you got to quit hunting.
Right.
I mean, because it doesn't matter if you can still see.
No.
And a lot
It
of
sucks, but
yeah.
So,
And
hunting season comes in, one of my back screens is the shooting hours log.
Yep.
Yep.
So I
Well,
can access it very
Yeah.
quickly.
Well, and that's the hard thing is, when I was a kid, I knew guys that were, I hunt till I can't see.
Yeah.
And It's like, well, then
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of our dads were that way.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
For sure.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, shooting light. What's shooting light?
You know?
You think about it, even pins nowadays on a bow, they pick up enough light that at that last 10 minutes of actual daylight, not 30 minutes after sundown,
Yeah.
they still pick up enough light that if you can make out what a deer is, you can still take that shot.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
You have to know, I mean, legally, and especially for us,
Yep.
now trying to video so much, we get a video out there that's 3 minutes after legal.
Oh, yeah, you're hit.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you
So
know.
you got to pay
important.
attention.
No,
to
you
that
got to pay
stuff.
attention
Yep.
big time.
So, which it was nice. We got out there and he spooked off into the field and ran over because we got two younger. One's about a 2.5-year-old 8-point, and then a 1.5-year-old. He's a 6 or a 7. I can't remember. But they were out there feeding in the main hayfield, and they're way over there. There's no shot at them, and so that was our night. And I think we ended up just going back home and hanging out. So
now Saturday night, Steve, you were still up north,
Yeah.
but you had different circumstances.
Yeah. So Saturday we got down 10 a.m. We took a ride. The guy we're up there hunting with, who invited us, said, "Hey, let's go check out this other property." He goes, "I think it might be a little bit better. We're gonna go stop by this one guy's house. We're gonna check out this other property." So he brings us maybe a mile up the road, shows us another blind we can hunt. I get on my Hunt Wise, and I checked out the property lines. Knew what it was. We got in the blind, kind of cleaned it out a little bit. Nobody's been in there since last winter. And check it out a little bit. We go down the road, go to the other guy's house, talk to him, and he said he's been seeing, 40 deer out in the bean fields at night. So, we go to Tim's house, come back, we take a little rest in the truck, head out there, and we get up in this blind. It was probably, I don't know, like 5 o'clock maybe, 4:45, 5 o'clock. I get up in the blind, I'm ranging off to my right, and I think it was maybe like 170 to the yards, and I range up straight out in front. It's about 160 to the woods, and as I'm ranging, I see a deer poking up. I'm like, put the rangefinder down. I'm like, Hunter, there's a deer out there, And put the rangefinder down. Yep, there's a deer out there. And about every 10 to 15 minutes for the rest of the night, 1 or 2 deer crossing this field. We've seen 24 deer in the evening.
On a brand new piece of property.
On a brand new piece of property. They were just, and like I said earlier, Hunter really wanted a buck. That's what we're after. So we're waiting and waiting and waiting. We're letting does go by. Single does. You get a doe come through with a fawn or two. Another single doe. Another doe with some fawns.
But man, that's bad ratio.
It was, And it was the 20th deer of the evening. Not of the day, just of the evening. It was a lone doe. And Hunter's like, "Dad, can I shoot her?" I'm like, "Really?" It was like an hour before dark.
Yeah, that magic hour.
That magic hour. I'm like, "Are you sure, dude?" Like, we still got a solid hour. I'm like, a nice buck could step out at any time.
yeah.
He's like, "Dad, we've let a lot of deer walk today."
It's pretty impressive he's made it that far with 20 deer walking by.
He's like, I just want to shoot one tonight. I'm like,
Well, because you had a circumstance that said you were either going to pretty much hunt the next day or not.
yeah, we had access to this property on that day.
Yeah.
That was it. And if we didn't fill a tag on Saturday, we're heading home that night.
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. We're going to go 2.5 hours back south. And then it was either
Hit the state land.
probably
out here.
the state land,
Yep.
And I kind of reminded him of that. And he's like, "Yeah. But Dad, I just really, he's like, I'll take a doe." I'm like, "Okay." Like, if that's what you want.
Yeah.
All right. We get
It's
the
his
guns.
tag.
Yeah, it's his tag.
Yeah.
We get set up on her. I get the camera rolling. And click the safety off. He takes that one solid breath. And that doe takes off running. Straight to the woods. You know? I'm like, oh, man. And he's like, you know, he was a little bummed out for a minute. Safety back on, set the gun back down. I'm like, he's a little bit bummed out. I'm like, listen, dude, we've seen a deer every 10 to 15 minutes all night.
Got an hour.
We still got an hour. The chances of you seeing another deer tonight,
We got at least 6
Pretty
more
good.
crossing this field.
you know, pretty good. And there was, I want to say, shortly after that, 2 more deer across the field, but they're moving quick.
Yeah.
Couldn't get at them. They were gone. Another one, single one, came across the field, moving fast. Couldn't get at them. And at that time, it's starting to get a little dark. By this time, it's like a little bit after 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
I think shooting hours is right around 8:30.
Yeah, it was 8:32.
on
Yeah,
Saturday.
8:32. Yeah, it was right around 8:30. I knew that. This is probably like 8:05 or something. You know, we're sitting there, and he's bummed. He's like, "Well, I should have shot that deer. I should have shot her faster." I'm like, "Man, bud, just chill out. You know, stuff happens. You can't beat yourself up too bad." And I looked out my window, and there's 2 does like coming, beelining straight to us. And I just picked up his gun. I sat up to him and I said, "Hey, Hunter, there's 2 coming right at us right now." What? Yeah, they're coming right here. These 2 does came up in, arranged them at 51 yards. And the front doe that I was going to originally have him shoot ended up turning and facing us. Like, she was straight on.
Yeah.
Just told him, no, don't shoot that one. Get on the back one. And,
The back one, by the video, she's probably 10 yards further back.
yeah, maybe 10.
Yep.
Yeah.
7 to 10 yards behind that front one. And he gets on that one, and he's breathing a little heavy. He's shaking a little bit. I'm trying to video at the same time, and I turn and look at him, and I can see him shaking a little bit, breathing heavy. And I laid my hand right on his back, and I said, "Just take a deep breath, bud. Calm down." I said, "Take your time, but they're not going to be here forever." He got on that back doe, took a deep breath, pulled trigger, and I've never seen a deer hit the ground that fast in my life.
I watched the video. It was like, poof, disappear. David Copperfield,
Yeah.
gone.
And that grass is pretty tall out in front of that blind. In the video will be up here shortly. We got down out of that blind and went to look for this deer. And it was, I'm walking through grass that's probably up to my hips looking for it. And Hunter's thinking we walked past her. I'm like, no, she's out here a little bit further. And all of a sudden you just see a big old white belly sticking up in that grass. And that was it was incredible. Deer number 3 for him.
Yeah, we've all seen that video, and that deer absolutely
Yeah,
just
poof.
dumped. And that was with what?
6.5 PRC.
Which is kind of a wildcat, right?
Yeah, it's like, don't quote me on this because I'm not the big, caliber guy like John is, but it's basically like a slightly larger of a 308 casing, neck down to a 6.5 millimeter round. It's like a 6.5 Creedmoor
Yeah.
on nitrous.
On steroids.
Yeah, exactly. 6.5 Creedmoor on steroids.
So he flattened that deer, and what did you find, damage-wise on that deer? Because you guys skinned it out and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we got it out of there, and it was pretty warm. So, we got that deer out of there, and I was actually in my wife's Tahoe. So I had to wrap it in a tarp. So she wasn't too
You should
mad.
have thrown it on the roof.
Oh yeah, no, that was way too much work. By the time I drug that deer out of there by myself,
Oh, yeah.
for the people listening, I haven't drug a deer out of the woods by myself in years.
You
I'm
got-
used to side-by-sides and tractors and Mapes' Hawk deer cart.
Which, For anybody listening, the hawk crawler deer cart.
That thing is money.
Go check it out.
It
It's
is
like
money.
if you're hunting a mile back, that's what you
Yeah,
need.
and we are not affiliated in any way
No,
with
but
Hawk.
we're not.
No.
We're
But
not.
that cart for the money is the best
Oh,
thing I've
and it will
spent
go
money
over
on.
logs.
Here's a
and
side
everything.
story for you. A little bit of side story. After the morning hunt, we went and got lunch, and I went to Myers in Ludington to buy a tarp to put in the back of the Tahoe.
Just in case.
Just in case, you know. But I'd also, I like wearing shorts. I hate wearing pants. But I wore jeans that day. And they were, you wear jeans. First in the morning, they've been in the dryer. They're nice and tight. By the middle of the afternoon, they're falling off you.
Yeah.
Because they stretched out a little bit. I was so mad, I bought a new belt at Ludington Meyer. And I was trying to drag this deer out of the field that night. And I was dragging her by the back legs, and they kept slipping out.
Oh, there's no easy way to drag a doe.
It's just so. It was
I cut slits in Ayla's in the tendons and where you'd hang them up, and that's how it's dragged.
And I was trying to drag her by the back hoofs, and they kept slipping. I was getting so mad. And I looked at Hunter. I was like, I wish I would have packed a rope.
Yeah.
He was carrying the gun and my backpack and everything else, and I had the deer. And Hunter looks at me and goes, well, Dad, you just bought a belt today.
It's pretty smart kid.
I looked at him and I'm like, you're right. I took my brand new belt off that was like 4 hours old, and I cut slits where you'd hang them up in the back box. And that's how I drug the deer out of the belt. So it was with my brand new belt.
But did it work pretty good?
It worked great.
It's a lot better than trying to hold those hooks.
And like I said, we are not affiliated in any way whatsoever with Hawk, but that Hawk crawler deer cart has gotten deer out of a lot of areas.
Oh,
Imagine dragging the 12-point you shot last year.
Up that
oh
hill.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh my
man.
goodness.
Well, and Steve's
My
doe
doe.
2 years ago, that was
Oh, my
long
goodness.
ways back. And
Yours-
that thing
And that was like,
snowy.
that was almost knee-deep snow.
Yeah.
We had a lot of snow.
And it rolled right through it.
That was.
That 8-point, your 8-point a few years back.
Yeah,
That was
a long
almost-
ways back. We only had a couple hundred yards to get to a main trail where we could
Yeah,
walk
that's
it out,
true.
but
But still.
that crawler cart goes over
Everything.
big-ass
I like the way
logs.
the wheels rotate.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
got like independent suspension.
It
Yeah,
does.
it's it got
It's
4
an
wheels
IFS.
but 1 axle, so they'll rotate
Right.
Yeah.
and go over stuff. I
Right.
mean,
For the money, right now, I think on camofire.com I posted yesterday, what were they?
like 139,
Something like
139. It was 130 something.
that. Yeah, and Chris went and bought one on Amazon because he said they're cheaper with no shipping.
Yeah.
Or free shipping than they were with Camel Fire.
That cart is awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If anybody's
cart's
out there is looking for a
Put it
cart,
this way, I
that
don't-
cart is the one to get.
I don't care how in shape you are.
Dragging
A dead thing through the woods, it'll let you know.
A 30-pound
yeah.
coyote sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, especially when you got 300 yards to drag the thing.
We should see me with a doe dragging it out with my belt about 600 yards when it was 75
And you
degrees.
gotta imagine too, Steve is Sasquatch size.
Yes, he is.
7'8" and 400 pounds. He's a hoss.
Yeah.
So that cart.
He's
makes-
corn fed.
Yeah, corn fed. For
I'm in no way physically fit either. So don't let that. Don't let the numbers fool you there.
7'3".
I like
Not
smoked
400 pounds. I'm sorry. But so, all right. Well, real quick here, I'll go back because Hunter killed his Saturday night.
Yeah.
Ayla didn't have any chances on Saturday at all.
Nothing on Saturday.
Except for when you guys were walking out, and it was
Yep,
still
I'm
somewhat
walking out,
daylight.
and we seen the 2. Yep.
So Saturday morning, Carter and I had actually, using hunt-wise, I had found on a USGS topo layer, I try to find the points that, recently this last year scouting, I try to find the ridges that go to points, and you can almost tell this particular point on a ridge made almost a pinch between the road and a clear cut. And I showed you both this spot on the map. Steve, you've been in this area where,
Oh yeah.
south of here about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And
Been there.
this spot's only 150, 200 yards off the road, but the point of the ridge almost forces the deer right there if they're going to come across.
Mm-hmm.
And I had scouted it, I think, Thursday night. I went in there and hung a trail camera.
Yeah, 'cause you
Wednesday
posted-
or Thursday.
Because you posted a rub.
Yeah. So
Fresh rub.
I had scouted this Thursday or Friday night, I think Thursday night, and with all the sign I'd seen, I had walked in there probably 2 hours before dark on Thursday, and I jumped a deer off this point. I said, man, if there's deer in there in the evening, they're probably bedded close to there in the morning, coming in through there. So Carter and I, we loaded up the 350 Legend in the morning Saturday, and I think we got out there about 6:30, and that wasn't really early enough for me. I mean, It was getting, I think shooting light was like 6:50 something.
Yeah, it was.
So it wasn't that early. I like to get in when I'm hanging a stand and stuff. I want to be there 45 minutes to an hour before dark. And with a kid, it's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
So we get in on this point, and we were carrying the 350 and a tripod and the camera, and I found a log that looked down over this ridge. I mean, we could see probably close to 100 yards down the ridge from us, and we could see cars going by us in the dark all morning, their headlights. So we weren't very far off the road. Well, and then it was, I mean, Clint, you and I, we kept connected that whole morning, wondering if each other were seeing anything. And it was 8 o'clock, I think. I said we just saw a deer butt. That's all I saw was walking through the brush was one butt of a deer. And I've got a tactic camera reveal in there. I hadn't had any trail cam pictures, so I knew it hadn't come from where we could see it coming clearly, And it was, I think, 8:45, 8:50. And Carter's sitting there, like I said, he found that hawk feather on the way in, and he was calling it his lucky feather. Okay, no problem. Like I said, it's his hunt. It's the youth hunter's hunt, and it's hard for me, just like we've talked about. I'm a deer hunter that wants to go in and get it done rather than go around and, go in and dick around and screw stuff up. I want stuff to happen. And the past couple of years hunting with them, I've tried to force that on them, and that's not good. That's not good for a kid.
Can't force it on the kids.
Right, exactly. So I was letting him do whatever kept him happy and kept him occupied. So I'm looking around for deer, and I, out of the corner of my eye, see a hawk feather flapping back and forth. And I don't remember what his answer was, but I'm like, "What are you doing?" And I don't remember what he said, but I said, you got to put that down, that's a white flapping around, and if there's a deer out there, it's going to pick that up. And I think he put it down, and it wasn't 5 minutes later, I hear, right there, right there, right there. And between us and the road, so 150 yards maybe, you've been in there, Steve, it's not that far from this point. There's this deer coming around the bend. I mean, from the road, right at us. The gun is facing would be northeast, and this deer is straight to our
southwest.
West. Yeah, our southwest.
The opposite way.
Right, exactly. So and this deer, I mean, the first deer to pop in on me, even during bow season, is going to surprise me. And I'm probably going to do things wrong the first hunt of the year. And that's how this went.
Get the jitters out.
Right. We were sitting on the ground, no cover, just kind of up against a log in a tree. And this deer pops up in the complete opposite direction of where I hoped it would.
Oh yeah, they're going to come from that way.
Right.
Nope.
And that's what I was hoping. And all the trails ran from
I know where they run in there.
And he says, right there, buck. He's never had a chance at a buck. Carter has never had a chance at a buck. He's always had a crossbow, so my shot for them has always been within 30 yards. And we've never had a buck come in when I've hunted with them. And so this deer pops up the complete opposite direction of where I was expecting. and we both get stupid. I mean, that's all there was to it. It was
Happens.
just surprised us. We were trying to make it happen. Carter goes to turn the gun. I go to grab the camera, and I think it was me, honestly, that it busted, because when I moved my hand to turn the camera is when it stopped and it locked its eyes. And, I mean, my hands...
You caught something move.
Right, they're bright white. And had he have been flapping that hawk feather around, it probably wouldn't have been no better. But, so this deer pops up, and we go to turn, and it stops and it locks on us. And I'm like, crap, just don't move. And he had, at this point, already turned probably 3/4 of the way he needed to get the shot off. So he was probably aiming the gun 25 yards in front of this deer at this point. When I told him, don't move, it's looking right at us. Well,
They can't stop that fast.
Right.
Yeah.
In the end, this deer ended up kind of running back towards the road, and I was watching him. I could see him running, and I'm like, listen, you need to turn your gun back to the north because he's going to circle around by the looks of it. He was trying to get around us to the clear cut, to the cover.
Yeah.
And I said, he's going to come right around us. He's going to come in anywhere between 75 and 50 yards. And we'll see him cross, and I'll stop him. Well, that deer stopped out there, and he's 100 yards, and I could see, like, the tip of his ears and his tail kind of flicking, and I'm looking.
Knew something was up.
He knew something was up, and then he headed right back for the road.
Right where he came from.
Right, exactly. I mean,
What he knew was safe.
yeah, exactly. Where he hadn't been in any trouble at all day.
Uh-huh.
How big a buck was it?
It was probably a little six, 4 or
Perfect
6
for him.
point. Yeah, which Carter, he hasn't taken a buck
Hell, that'd
at
be
all.
a great
Yeah,
Great buck for a kid.
Exactly. And
For sure.
right now, my biggest thing is there's a lot of people, and I've talked to them, I've heard from them, and you can tell who they are when they comment on Facebook. Oh, I'm 19 and my biggest buck is bigger than yours, or my first buck is bigger than any of yours that you got on the wall. My kids aren't going to be that way.
No, and that was kind of the whole thing of going up north of these guys tell me these big bucks they're seeing. I didn't want my kid to shoot one of these giant ones.
Yeah.
The whole point of going up north and seeing all of these deer was to be a little bit selective.
Yeah.
But my goal was to shoot a legal buck, a 6 point, a 7 point. I don't want him to shoot one of these giant 12s.
Yeah.
And then get bored with hunting later because he's already done something.
I mean, look at how far we are in, and even 2 of the bucks I've killed, I wouldn't consider them giant bucks.
No.
So I'm still looking for bigger.
Yeah.
But the thing is I don't think people realize that we don't have the properties where we can plant food plots,
Right.
where we can manage deer correctly.
We have no
Exactly.
say on the pressure.
Yes, exactly. And so therefore, when we hunt highly hunted areas.
And we're still being somewhat selective.
Yeah, and we're still
on those deer in highly pressured
By
areas.
personal choice.
Yes, by
Exactly.
personal choice. Yes,
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong, because both
We don't
of you,
have an APR here
no.
like we did up north.
Yeah, but both of you know as well as I do. You can go in the woods and we could probably kill a small buck within 3 or 4 days.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We'll shoot a little spiker, a little
yeah,
four.
and
or
don't get me
whatever.
wrong,
Yeah.
that's okay. But my biggest thing is when a deer comes in, if it gets me excited, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
That is what it's about for me.
If
Yeah,
my
for
leg
sure.
starts banging off that
Yep,
tree stand,
yep, you're like,
well,
oh, buddy.
night night.
Yep. I had the same.
My leg can bang off that tree stand and I can still get excited and I can let him walk by.
Yes.
You know, because I've already killed one of that nature.
Yep.
And at this point, I want a bigger deer for myself. But at the same time, I don't want my son to get spoiled.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want him
exactly.
to learn.
Yeah.
And that was the whole mission of this past weekend was to let some deer walk.
Yep.
Be selective.
Yep.
A little bit. And
Not just shoot the first thing that comes in.
when he let 30 damn deer walk by already, he's been selective. So,
Right.
okay, shoot a doe.
Yep.
You know, I don't want you to get burned out,
Right.
but yeah, for sure.
Well, and in the end, still, like we said in the beginning, it's their hunt.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because eventually, in 10 years, 15 years, he's going to be buying his own tags.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's going to be doing his own hunts.
His own way.
And he's going to be working off of what we taught them.
Right,
Yep.
exactly.
You know, their base knowledge is going to be what we gave them.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean,
And, go ahead.
well, I mean, for instance, the Carter, another 3 or 4 years, he's going to be hunting with us.
I hope.
During our hunt camp or deer camp.
Yep.
So I mean that right there, and I mean he's going to learn not just from you, but I mean just from what he sees around him. And if he sees that, that practice of, you sometimes you got to wait.
And sometimes it just don't happen, no matter how
Nope.
hard you try.
No, exactly. I mean,
And that's hunting, man.
Yeah.
that's why it sounds stupid, but it's not called killing.
No.
It's called hunting.
For a reason.
Yeah,
For sure.
I explained that to Ayla over the weekend. I said, she goes, man, because we seen those bucks, and she was disappointed because when it went running, I said, it happens. I said, but the thing is I said, you need to think realistically. I said, it'd have been real hard for you to get that crossbow up and get on that deer before he bolted. There was as close as we were, he would have just bolted anyways.
Yeah.
I said, so, and she's like, well, yeah. I mean, 9 years old, so
Yeah.
So-
they're kids, but
yeah.
they're honestly they're getting a great education
Oh yeah.
on what we love to do right now.
Yeah.
That honestly, all of us probably didn't have this opportunity. The youth hunt was not around when I was that young.
I can't.
See, the youth hunt was around when I was coming up, because I was 12 in 2000. That was my first year being able to
12 in
legally bow hunt. Yeah, I was born
So
in
young.
'88.
No, I got to hunt the youth hunt 2 years.
Oh yeah, I got like
That was
4
it.
years of that.
The youth hunt popped up when I was 14,
And you were born in what?
85.
So you're 3 years older than me.
Yeah.
So I had an extra at least 2
Yeah.
to hunt it.
Yeah.
So I hunted the youth hunt from like 14
And
until 17 or 16.
16.
16. Yeah.
I almost got spoiled on that youth hunt, like this close. It's back then, you gun hunt Todd Farm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And my dad took me out one time. And we were on Todd Farm.
Back then it was a drawing gun hunt, right?
No, not on the refuge, just surrounding areas.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
So your normal surrounding areas, you could gun hunt it.
Yep.
There was no regulations. It was just normal. It was treated as state land.
Well, a lot of people are going to know the Todd Farm, so
Yeah.
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
You can't gun hunt it anymore.
You cannot. You can archery hunt it, but you need to check at the field, the farm service, right? So like there's certain days you can hunt it. Not
Don't even look at me, Steve.
Yeah, don't ask me about deer.
I would go to the DNR station and be like, where can I hunt and where can't I?
no.
There
There,
days that certain zones are open
Yes,
and closed.
I think
yes,
so.
there's certain days that you can hunt and not because they favor the goose hunters.
Yeah.
So at certain times you cannot be out there bow hunting because they got a goose hunt or something going
Yeah.
on. So you got to check the board.
It's not worth it to me.
Honestly, at this point in time, no, it's not.
There's so much other
It's
ground
so hard.
that is
Yeah,
unregulated.
it's not. But years ago, it was.
Yeah.
We were out there, and we were doing this youth hunt. It was actually, we're here, Zone 8. We went out. We sat in the morning.
Where is Zone 8 out there?
Zone 8 is actually Zone 8's broken up quite a bit. So Zone 8 is on the north the north and south side of 118.
Okay.
There's different.
What side, east or west?
We were on the south side of 118. What is that? 64th?
Well, no, it'd be 62nd. 62nd is on the east or the west side of
Yeah, no.
the Todd
What's over
Farm.
here?
That would be
59th
59th or 60th, one of the two. Because
50th runs up.
60th doesn't go through.
No, we're over. So you go Fenville Church,
Yep.
head up,
Yep.
and hit 120th. So we're
I know where you are.
120th. That section is Zone 8. Years ago, this is
When they had all the pine trees there.
yeah. This was what am I 36 now? This is 20 years ago, 21 years ago.
Pines aren't on 120th.
They used to be. There used
Used
to
to
be a
be.
huge grove.
21 years ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
20 before they clear cut that section.
Steve and I both grew up
21
in
years
Finville.
ago, I was
Yeah.
11.
Yeah. 21 years ago, off that section, a zone 8 off of 120th there. Me and my dad sat there. We seen one doe all morning. She took off. My dad's like, let's get up. Let's take a walk. We walked down the pines and around the corner.
Yeah.
And we were standing there for a hot second. And this giant came out of the thicket where that creek comes through.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
He
about.
come up out of there. It's like all cattails and swamp
Yeah.
grass. He came out of there, and there's this pine tree that stood no more than 3 foot tall. This buck come running up, and he started just rubbing on it, just shredding this pine tree. And I got a Remington 870 Wingmaster, fully rifled barrel with a scope on it. And my dad's going, shoot him.
Unload on
And-
him.
This gun was going from grass to sky, to grass to sky. I was shaking so bad, I could not get this deer in my scope. It probably still to this day, one of the biggest bucks I've ever had in range in front of me. Could not get this deer in my scope. My dad's going, shoot him. Shoot him. He's going to run. Shoot him. Still trying to find this deer in my scope. Couldn't find him.
I know your dad. I got a feeling it was a little more rough than shooting.
It was a little more rough, but we're on a podcast, so I'm keeping her clean. And I was looking through the scope, and I would peek out and see the deer still there, and I would go back to the scope and try to find him. I could not find him. And finally, this deer stopped in his tracks, stood up at full attention, and looked at us, and almost like he rose, took his nose to the sky, was like, took a big old whiff, looked right at us,
Smells
and was
like
gone.
I smell a kid who's not going to shoot.
Exactly. He was gone.
But his dad might grab it and shoot.
Yeah. He was gone. I never once seen that deer in my scope, and that deer was close.
Got
I
it.
should have killed him.
Well, I mean, so yeah, that's what the youth hunt to me is all about, is getting the kids interested enough
Yeah.
Yeah.
to want to carry on this tradition.
Get them that little bit of an adrenaline rush. Get them out there, get them
When you see
experiencing
that look
it.
on their face after they shot that deer and they seen it go
Right.
down,
And,
they're
and
just
I just shared the live video again the other day of Carter shooting his.
Yeah,
and the
seen that.
smile on his face and the excitement when he shoots this doe
Yeah.
on public land
Yeah.
that he had to literally work for.
Yep.
Because
did.
it wasn't just handed to him right in front of a food plot on private property of
Yeah.
nothing but no pressure all year. This was a different deer, and he was excited. Well, this buck, I mean, he knows, I think at this point, that it's not going to come easy.
Yeah.
I don't have the money. I don't have the sources to give him access to private ground all the time,
Yeah.
you know. And granted, they've been invited to some amazing property to come take some does.
Well, a doe he shot last year.
Yeah, that was on awesome managed property to come take some antlerless deer off of them.
Yeah.
But, you know, that it's hard because in a way I look at myself like, God, I wish I would have done things different to give him the chance to go out on a manicured ground and shoot a buck.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
But
I
he's
don't.
yeah.
Because now he's got to learn to be a better hunter. He's got to learn to be... He knows what to look for. When we go scouting, on the rare occasion that he does come out and walk with me, he knows what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And that's sign, and that's tracks, and that's food.
That's truly what we're trying to teach them.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's the woodsmanship that has been lost. And I don't have a lot of it in me because my dad would take me scouting occasionally, but a lot of times it would be, Dad found this spot, let's go hunt it. And that's honestly what Carter and Owen have now. My oldest and my second kid. And so, you know, Saturday night of the youth hunt, I said, I know a spot that I want to go. It's an open field, and Owen, for whatever reason, likes hunting open fields. public land on open fields, you're kind of limited. You're going to either see a little buck or you're going to see some does.
Yeah.
If that. You know?
If that.
And you both kind of know the area I was in. I've hunted this area for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so Saturday night we get in there and I said, every night I drive by here, if I'm here before dark, there's deer back in this back corner. And I had talked to another guy, Dave. I don't know if he listens to this. I'm not going to say his last name, but if he listens to it, he'll know who he is. And he said, there's a field back in there. We walked this last year. I hung a trail camera back there when I was recuperating from my hospital stay.
Yep.
We went way back in through that clear cut into the field and hung a trail camera. And he says, you guys got to go back to that backfield in the clear cut. I've seen a bunch of deer back there before dark. And I said, I got my wife, 2 kids that want to go, and me. I'm going to stick up front by the road and make it a 200-yard walk, And we're out there for... Owen is 9 years old, and he doesn't like to sit a long time. He gets very impatient. He's...
Like all 9-year-olds.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of patience in him. And it was...
I don't know where he gets that from, Dad.
Me. Like I said in another one, they've told me I've got ADHD. It would not surprise me with this.
You got ADHDs?
Yeah, something like that.
Right there with you. Hey, look, a squirrel.
Exactly.
Hey, look, a feather, Dad.
So I had been talking to you, Clint,
Yeah.
and that's when we had found out, I need to know what the legal shooting hours were. And it was 7:30, like an hour and 2 minutes before last legal light. And I'm like, okay, Owen, this is the last hour. This is when we got to be patient and quiet and still because they could pop out at any time. And down the ridge from us, and I'm like, dang it! And Alicia's sitting in the tree behind us, and she says, what was that? I said, that's a deer. I said, it smelled us or something.
I know you're there.
Like
Yeah, it knew something was
I
there.
smell you.
And she's sitting there and she goes, hang on, I hear it walking. And I'm listening and I'm like, all right.
I don't know what she's talking about.
Yeah. So I'm trusting her at this point.
Really? Were you?
I was. I couldn't hear anything, but she was sitting elevated above
she could
us
hear it
in
better.
the tree.
Yeah.
She could hear down the ridge. So I'm waiting for a deer to at least... there was a certain position where if it would have been behind us in the woods, I could have turned him to take a shot.
Yeah.
Well, we never saw this deer. 45 minutes goes by. We're pushing 15 minutes of darkness, until legal light.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, it's at the point now where if one does walk out, we're not really going to know what it is anymore.
Right.
And so we waited about 10 more minutes, made sure we didn't hear or see anything come out. And we all stand up at the corner of this field. And as soon as we hit the feet on the ground, standing straight up, a deer takes off from right behind us, going back into the woods. And Alicia goes, what was that? And I said, I didn't hear it. And Carter goes, that was a deer. And she goes, it had to have been. It had to have been coming right here. And I said, it probably was coming up into this corner of the field to feed.
Yeah.
Well, so then Sunday rolls around.
Yeah.
And Sunday morning, do you have any luck, Clint?
We were going, Ayla wanted to hunt in her stand that morning and went out and we got out of the corn. This is the way I walk in. I try to leave as less in as I can because I know which way they travel in there. And so we just cut straight through the corn and go about 20 yards into the woods, and that's where her stand is. And we get to the edge of the woods and get in the woods and kick up 2 deer, and I'm pretty sure it was the 2 bucks we seen the night before.
Yeah.
And they went running off, and we
Well, you told me that morning that you had 2 bucks underneath your stand. Were you using a headlamp or a flashlight?
Oh, that was the same too.
Okay.
That was the same too when we were walking to the stand.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure they were bucks because I'm pretty sure I've seen antlers, but I can't be 100%.
Okay.
So we get in the stand, and the only thing we seen was a raccoon. And of course, they was like, "Can I shoot it?" And I was like, "Well, you got a small games license, but no, we'll wait."
Yeah. Yeah, which Technically, unless the landowner at that point was complaining about damage.
The farmer has been.
Oh, well, then you're good to go.
Yeah.
But, so then you hadn't seen any deer
Nope.
Sunday morning?
No. And we waited till, I got her to wait till about 9:30, and then she's like, well, can we get down and go somewhere else and sit down on the ground? I was like, yeah, I guess. So we go over there, and I'm exhausted. I don't know why. I didn't sleep good or whatever, but I was tired. So we walk up towards the front of and we're sitting on this hill, and that's when I was talking to you. You're like, it's hot. And I'm like, I got this nice breeze, man.
It sucked.
Dude, I had this nice breeze, and I'm like, all right, Ellie, keep your eyes open. I'm going to sleep.
I was already
Good
on
lady.
the road messaging you.
I know. And you're like, I'm done. This is
Yeah.
hot. This sucks.
I was already skinning one at this
Yeah.
point.
So I laid down, and I took like a 20-minute nap, and I wake up, and I look over, and Ayla's building the teepee with sticks. Big sticks. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, building the teepee. She goes, it's pretty good, isn't it? I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. I ended up helping her finish it.
So you guys haven't seen anything
I love
Saturday.
hunting with kids.
Yeah. Well, and
great.
also,
It's different.
that morning, I kind of, back to you, it's their hunt, and that's what I kind of realized. It's like, because I kept getting on to her and be like, hey man, you gotta quit moving,
Yeah.
and I finally was just like, you know what? I already told her, she knows if you move, they're gonna see you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, you know what? This is about her having fun. And when she wanted to get down, we got down, and we went up there, and she built the teepee. I was like, whatever,
Yeah.
I was good with it, and I kind of realized, like, it's her hunt. Who cares? If we see something, we see something. If we don't, we don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't. Other than the raccoon and the two we kicked up when we were going out to her stand, we did not see a thing.
Yeah, so Steve's already cleaning a deer at this point.
Yeah.
Clint and I are out with our kids, and
Yeah.
we did it. So Owen doesn't like the cold. It wasn't cold any day of the weekend at all.
Yeah.
But Carter elected to take the morning hunts. Owen elected to take the evening hunts. And so Saturday night, we're sitting out there not seeing shit. And my Tacticam's going off almost a mile deep in a patch of public of buck after buck after buck in daylight.
That's Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Yeah.
So when we were on our way back home, because Olivia, my daughter, went with my mom for the weekend. And now she's saying she wants to hunt. So next year she's going to be shooting the crossbow.
Yeah. My Olivia's going to be doing the same thing.
Dude, it's going to suck.
It is. My Olivia, I've already, I will take Olivia next year.
Yep, I will too.
And then my dad is probably going to take Hunter.
Yep.
Next year if Amanda doesn't want to.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
If Amanda wants to take Hunter, she can.
Yep.
If not, then my dad can, but I'll be taking Liv
Yeah,
next year.
and that's
so.
where we're going to be because the boys have been on a couple years with the hunts, and granted, that
And our girls are getting a little bit bigger. Our girls
and they
are
want
the
to
youngest.
do it. Well, shoot, if you're going to
Well,
have
yeah.
a daughter grow up in the hunting world, she's
Got to
going
give them the same
make-
opportunities.
Eventually, she's going to make more hunters too because
Oh,
if
yeah,
mom
for
likes
sure.
to hunt. My kids are attached to mom by the hip.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like
So-
Kate. My wife, I mean, she loves to hunt.
Pretty
Right.
soon we're going to be out there sitting with our little girls.
I know.
And
And pretty soon we'll be sitting out there alone, wishing we had them again.
exactly.
So
Until you get
Exactly.
home and, Dad,
Yeah.
what?
Well, I mean, in a couple years when they forget about
I
us
know.
that we
Yeah,
even exist,
exactly.
you know.
Oh, I gotta change your diaper, Dad?
So we're sitting out there Saturday night getting pictures on these acorns that I've been watching for a month now. And my camera's blowing up. So on the way home, I said, Carter, it's your hunt in the morning. You feel like going for a walk? He said, yeah, I'll go anywhere. And he will. Carter's almost 11. He'll be 11 in November. And he'll walk. He doesn't like to walk to scout, but he'll walk to hunt where he goes, Dad scouted.
Dad's already been out here, so it's gotta be pretty good.
Yeah.
This is easy.
So,
All right, Dad already got this.
so we're
Let me know where we're
walking.
going.
Sunday morning, Carter and I get up at 4:45. I made breakfast. We had some things to eat. I had some coffee. We get out there at 6 o'clock. We got about 45, 50 minutes before dark, or before light. And we go walking down this trail. And we made pretty good timing down the trail. And we go back there, and I use a flashlight. I don't know about you. There's some people that have thermal. I have thermal. I don't carry it because it's another freaking thing for me to carry.
Yeah.
So we're walking down this trail, main walking trail, human trail, with the flashlight, and I'm scanning off the sides kind of because I've never really hunted this area, and I'm trying to pick out where people are going in and out. You could tell with cat eyes that people put them everywhere.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to my spot.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people that hunt your area.
Yeah.
Like
A little bit.
100 cats out in the woods.
Yeah.
It looks like a Christmas tree.
Right. So we're walking, and I'm looking at the map, and I'm kind of shining off the trail with a flashlight, and I'm like, Carter, there's a deer right there. 30 yards off this road, or off this drive, just laying there looking at us. Carter, there's another one back there. 30 yards past that one looking at us. Carter, there's 3 more about 50 yards to the left. There's deer everywhere looking at us.
All bedded.
I said, okay, we got to go in about 150 yards to this point, and we'll sit up on top of the ridge. I play the wind still, so I was trying to play the wind to where I was sitting with the wind blowing down the ridge, and I could see anything coming to me. Well, so we get in finally to the spot at about 6:45, 6:50, and it was, I mean, the sun's already coming up.
I think you were at shooting light already.
Almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we just sit down, and we're kind of sitting there just talking between the two of us, and he's like, it's hot out. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I am dripping sweat off of me. And my phone starts going off right over the ridge from us where my trail camera is of deer walking back and forth on it. But we couldn't hunt it because of the wind direction. Had I have sat there, the wind would have been blowing right to them all, and it would have been done before it was even started.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, well, we know we got deer right behind us. Let's just let the morning go, and we'll see what happens. Nothing. All morning long, nothing but trail camera pictures from over the ridge and no deer in front of us. So it gets to, that was the morning, it was hot. It was
warm.
75, almost 80 that morning, and we walked almost a mile in.
It was hot Sunday.
Sunday morning was
I
just
had bags of
ridiculous.
ice laying in Hunter's deer.
Yeah, you needed them, otherwise she would have spoiled.
Yeah.
So it's about 9:45, 10 o'clock. It's a cart. What do you think? I'm ready to go. I said, yeah, me too. It's his hunt. Let's go.
Yeah.
So we walk out, and Sunday night rolls around, and I said, Owen, like I said, Owen doesn't like to sit for very long. So it's about 5:30. I said, Owen, it's going to get dark in about 3 hours. If we're going to go, we need to go. We got about a 45-minute drive, because he wanted to go back to the same field where we were the night before. Yeah. And he kind of hem-hawed around, didn't necessarily seem interested in going, but he wanted to go. He just had other things that were on his mind too that he wanted to do. And I finally said, you know, if you don't want to go, let me know, and I'll take your brother, and you can stay home and do what you want to do. Well, he got his stuff on, and we went out, and we got out to this spot. What was it, 7 o'clock?
Yeah.
I messaged you. I said, we're just getting
It was
out
like
here.
6:45, I think it was.
And on the way there, we're driving past like 4 different spots that I've got mapped on hunt-wise already. And I said, you want to go back into some acorns, or you want to go on that field? I want the field. And I think part of it is I think he might be a little afraid of being in the woods in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ayla's the same way.
So I'm not going to say
He likes
nothing to him.
Yeah.
a wide open area. where
Right,
you can see
exactly.
some
Where
stuff,
you can
yeah.
see, even after it's legal, quote-unquote, shooting light, you can still see.
Yeah, I hear that.
So I said, okay, well, we'll go back to that field. And we were sitting for 15 minutes, and bam, my tact cam starts going off of deer back on these oaks that I had suggested we go to, but he didn't want to. Again, it's his hunt. He wanted to do it his way.
It's all about the kids.
Right, exactly.
For sure.
So
It's not our hunt. So.
right.
Yeah.
So then we get to that point where at 7:30, because I knew that night I think we had to be out by 7 or 8:31 was legal light. I said, all right, 7:30, it's a magic hour. And almost identical to the night before when I say it's the magic hour, but this time way upwind, whoosh, I'm like, God damn it. There's this deer snorting at us again. And
We're
I'd
throwing the
almost-
milkweed out there, seeing if the
And I
thermals were
was.
going that way.
I was throwing milkweed, and it was going to our right, and this deer was way to our left.
Jeez.
Just snorting at us. My only guess is that this deer had come out to the field and could see my truck.
Oh, yeah.
Or it watched us walk in and never leave.
Yeah, he stayed
Because
there
they
the whole
will
time.
do that sometimes. Well, they'll see you
Oh, yeah.
and then
Yeah.
not leave, and they'll stand there snorting, knowing, well, we're not going that direction. I've seen that more than once.
Yeah.
And I
Sure.
said, Owen, it's snorting again at us. He goes, is that a deer? I said, I'm almost positive that's probably the same deer as it was last night.
Like, oh, these are the guys who were here last
Right,
night.
exactly.
I know you're there.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. So
I can smell you.
So me and you, Clint, we're talking back and
Yeah.
forth, and I said we got one already snorting at us, and we got an hour left, which gives you plenty of time. I mean, deer snort at anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
For sure.
So I said, there's still a chance that we'll see something, but at that point, I had kind of
your hopes
already.
were pretty down.
It's kind of a
Yeah.
bummer, but it's not a reason to call it.
Right, I
Yeah.
was at a 25%. We're gonna see something still, and versus not see anything.
Yeah.
And then you go ahead, Clint.
Yeah,
you guys
we were-
had a good night.
Yeah, we were sitting there, and it was, well, we got done with the morning hunt after we built the teepee and stuff, and I was still pretty tired, so I said, Ayla, let's go home and take a nap. She goes, that sounds good, Dad. I was like, okay, sweet. So we go home, we go take a nap. We got up at about 4 o'clock. We got up at about 4 o'clock. And
I don't care what anybody says, but after you put in that much effort, your kid wants to nap and they nap with you.
oh, yeah, she did too.
It's different.
Yeah, I was
I
like,
will nap with my kid all afternoon.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Forget the hunting.
yeah. Well, I said, when she wanted to hunt, we got up and I said, you want to hunt? She said, oh yeah, let's go. Let's get, she was ready to go. I was like, all right. So we get loaded up, and she wanted to sit on the ground where we sat the night before, and it's like on the side of that hill back there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Side of that hill, and
You guys have a creek bed that runs through your property.
yes, we have a creek that runs through our property, and there's actually, you got the big creek, and then you have basically a drain runoff that basically runs around the side of the cornfield. So we're sitting on the side of this hill, and it opens up into the creek bottom there, and it's not all marshy. It's probably, there's like 50 yards of on the side of the creek. It's pretty marshy in there, but they cross in that area right there, and I knew that. And so we're sitting there, and there's a bunch of oaks up there in front of us, and I know they get in there and they eat those oaks all the time. I've got my camera in there scrounging for them. So we're sitting there, and it wasn't as windy that as it was Saturday
No,
night.
it got pretty calm Saturday evening.
No, Saturday evening was
Or
windy.
Sunday evening.
Sunday evening was the wind had calmed down quite a bit, and it was pretty quiet. We could hear pretty good, and of course, you got the blue jays going off. I said, that's one thing you always listen for. You listen for those blue jays. I said, they get mad and they don't make that sound unless
Something's around.
Something's around them. Something whether
So I was listening to squirrels and the blue jays.
Yeah.
And Carter picked that out Sunday morning. He's like, Dad, there's blue jays. I said, there's probably a deer over
Yeah.
that direction somewhere, but we can't quite see that way.
Sure.
And the thing is where we're hunting, it's real. There's a bunch of dead maples in there, and what it is the smaller maples that can't get to the canopy, get through the canopy to get sun, so they just end up dying. So there's a whole bunch of them, and it's nice and clear in there, but like 80 yards past that, it gets real thick. And there's those oaks in there, and there's a bunch of scrub brush in there and stuff. And I kept hearing something down there, but I wasn't really sure because it's 100 yards away, and I mean I could see with my binoculars, but this time of year it's so thick you can't see. And about that time, all of a sudden I hear, I could barely hear something. Then all of a sudden, here come two yearlings come out. I'm like,
Now,
okay.
by yearlings, you had talked to me. These weren't fawns.
No, these weren't fawns. I say yearlings. They were
Last year.
Yeah, they were late last year or late last summer born. They were probably a late fawn born. So, anyways, they come out, and then all of a sudden I see they kind of were scooting out there pretty quick, and then all of a sudden they just kind of slowed down, and then all of a sudden I looked, and here comes, I'm assuming it was Mom. And so I asked Ayla immediately, because Ayla's sitting next to me. Granted, we're on the ground, we're hunting with a crossbow, you know, and I asked Ayla, I said, you want to shoot it? And Ayla's like, she's like, no, you know. And that was her big thing, is she didn't want to shoot anything that had babies and blah, 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 and all that, you know. And I understand that, and I'm kind of the same way. And I told her, I said, those aren't, you know, this year's babies, you know. And so we're just kind of sitting there. Well, this doe kind of, we're sitting on the side of the hill, so we're blended into the hill pretty well. But we got our white faces out there, you know. So, I mean, deer can see that. I don't care what anybody says. They can see that white face. And especially my daughter's white face. And, I mean, I got a beard, you know, so it kind of breaks it up a little bit. And she sees something over towards us. I mean, she sees us. I mean, that's what she sees. And she's just kind of, you know, she never really stomped her foot or anything like that, but she knew we were there.
She was doing the old head bob.
Yeah, she'd go and eat some, and then she'd lift her head and kind of look around, kind of looking right back at us, you know, kind of moving it around.
I think they do that purposely to fake things.
Yeah.
Like,
Just try to get you to move.
Oh, you're moving.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, and that's what, and I said, hey, let's don't move. I said, just stay. And that girl stayed still. She did not move a muscle. And so we're sitting there, and this deer kind of comes towards us a little bit, you know, closes like 28 yards and, you know, just head on to us. And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, you know, Ayla's like, I want to shoot it. I'm like, well, now you tell me. If you'd have told me that when when they first came in, I could have got, you know, the crossbow ready and all that. So, of course, you know, she's facing right towards us. I'm like, all right. So she finally kind of gives up on us. Like, okay, whatever it is hasn't moved yet. And that's kind of what she was thinking. But she was still, you know, I mean, still a little squirrely with us. And I'm like, okay. So she starts walking away. Well, that's when I pull up the crossbow, you know, and just holding the front for her. I said, get on it, you know. And she's sitting right next to me. So I'm trying to hold the front of the crossbow with my right hand. I mean, she can hold it, but it's heavy for her in the front end. Yeah. So I'm trying to hold the front. Well, she gets up there and she gets, you know, where she can see through it and everything. And I said, about that time that deer turns sideways and immediately looks at us. She's seen us moving, you know. And I'm holding it, and I guess I was holding it in the wrong position. She's like, Dad, she's like, I can't get it in view. So I let go a little bit so she could, you know, get the deer.
She could aim it.
Aim it, yeah. And I could see her body language. She was fixing to turn to the right and kind of go away from us. And I told Haley, I said, if you're going to shoot, you need to shoot now. She's going to move. And I said, go ahead when you're ready, you know. And she fired. As soon as she shot, man, I could see that deer took took a step and almost dropped. Well, in my defense, I told her, I said, use the third line, because I had ranged it earlier. Well, when the deer came in, I didn't have no time to get the rangefinder and range exactly where she was when we fired, but I got to range it afterwards, and she was only like at 33 yards, and I told her to use the third line, which is the 40-yard mark on it. And so she hit high. She hit it right in the spine, dropped it like a sack of taters, man. I mean, that deer went poof. Yeah. And, of course, that look on her, I got her. And her front end's still moving, but she severed the artery in that spine. And I told her, I said, we're going to have to put another one in her. So I'm sitting there, and I cocking the crossbow. And, of course, the cocker breaks, but luckily I got it cocked all the way. And right when it locked in, one of the ears blew off that cocker. I was like, oh, that was close. That would have been bad. Yeah. So I got it got it reloaded, and Ayla's already standing up. I'm still sitting down, you know. And so I put another bolt in it, and I'm fixing to get up, and she's like, no, Dad, I got it. And she takes she goes, you stay here. She grabs a crossbow from me.
She's not a big girl.
No,
she has adrenaline running.
Oh, yeah. She goes, I'll take care of it. And she grabs the crossbow and walks about 15, 20 yards closer and gets into the opening a little bit better. And frickin', you can hear that.
Puts another
one in her, and she quit moving after that. And I was like,
nice.
It's like, good job, man.
So this girl who couldn't prior hold this crossbow up by herself without set sticks or some help.
Yep.
Walked up with the adrenaline rush in her, held
Held
the
the crossbow up
And
poof!
finished it off.
and
Yeah.
finished that doe off, and that is awesome.
And you know how hard those crossbow pull is on those triggers?
Oh, yeah,
They're
big time.
ridiculously hard.
Yeah. So to make an accurate shot,
Yeah.
free-handed,
And
for
granted-
a little girl.
Yeah. I was pretty
tough.
proud of her because I asked her, I said, where did you aim on your second shot? She goes, honestly, Dad, she goes, I could, and she said, I could have done it better. She goes, I just aimed at the center of its body. I said, well,
You did what you could.
you did what you could. And I said, that was still a good shot because she hit left lung, and the way she was laying on the ground, it hit left lung and then hit the liver and exited out part of the gut.
But the first shot would have probably killed
yeah,
her.
it would have killed her. It would have.
However-
After time.
Right.
Yeah.
And being hunters that we are, we don't
Yeah,
want to see
no.
them suffer.
If I got to
No,
bust another
for
arrow
sure.
to put a
Right,
deer down, I
exactly.
will. We've all been there.
Yeah.
I've done it before.
I did it twice last year.
So them die much faster.
Yeah.
Right.
Still laying there alive.
It's not
Yeah.
fun for any of us to watch an animal suffer. And
No.
people say the same with coyotes. Well, why do you even waste another bullet? It's just a coyote. Because I
don't
am
want
the
it
one,
to suffer.
Right.
I-
I'm
if
the
I
one
get-
that made
if-
the decision.
If somebody's putting me down, guess what? I don't want to get shot in the gut.
right.
Like, plain and simple.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd rather you do it quick.
Right.
You
And
know?
that's
Exactly.
awesome. I mean, and that's what a lot of anti-hunters see that crap, and it's like we aren't out there just because we're bloodthirsty people.
Yeah.
I love to hunt, but at the same time, just a quote-unquote worthless coyote
Yeah.
still deserves better than what I've done them at some point.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
know, and that's why I will waste at this point a lot of money on ammo because ammo's not cheap right
No.
now.
Well,
They
To
just
make sure that
they deserve a quick death.
right,
yeah.
exactly.
It's
exactly.
being humane. It's just
is.
it's plain and simple. You're
Being
being
humane.
humane to the animal. I
right,
mean,
and Ayla being able to do that is
Yeah.
an awesome thing.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. But so we've got, for the three of us, we put down 2 deer this weekend for the youth hunters. My kids, I mean, didn't have the chance, but it is what it is. My kids are learning a whole different style.
yeah.
You both are on private, and
Yep.
whether people want to admit it or not, private and public are 2 different
There.
games.
They're
Totally
two
different
Right.
You know?
So
For sure.
I mean, for even Carter to see that one, and for us to be in range of any that we could even hear on Saturday and Sunday night with Owen, that's pretty good for a kid.
Yeah.
Oh,
you,
for
kn-
sure.
You know you're in
Absolutely.
the area. You just might have to change a little things. And Owen, he's got my head. He's a little harder headed.
Mm-hmm.
So when he wants to do something his way,
It's his
that's
way or
how
the
it's going to
highway.
be. And Carter kind of knows now, hey, Dad's going to say, we should do this and maybe we should. And
I should probably listen to him.
right. And it doesn't always work out clearly.
Only when it's
but-
hunting.
Yeah, pretty
Oh.
much.
At
So
least
that's what I'm
they're
good at.
at least they're all learning young.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's
You know?
the biggest thing. I mean,
All of these kids are learning very young.
yeah. Well, and that's the biggest thing. It's like, I was kind of thinking about that on the way home, and it's like, if you're a kid, and no offense, I mean, if you grow up in the city, you can hunt. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't, but just for the kids that their parents don't hunt or don't do any of that, I mean, that's a whole different animal. It teaches you respect for not just people, but for animals and
Yeah.
for all that. I mean, it's just, I was thinking about it, I was like, man, it's, how fortunate we are to be able to do what we do.
Yeah, and I
know.
think, we see people, quite frankly, bitch about it every year, the youth hunt
Well,
being unfair. It's not
Yeah,
fair
fair.
that I
Exactly.
work so hard to see these big deer and the kids get to go out and shoot them.
I was actually
Shut
gonna
up.
touch on this point real quick. You know who I'm talking about. The person I've been talking to you about a lot lately.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This morning.
200 inches.
Yeah. Exactly.
I give all my racks away.
Yeah. We were he asked me how I felt on the youth hunt this morning while we were on the way to a job. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I love the youth hunt. He goes, well, I think it's unfair and there's too many opportunities for, adults to lie and say that, they shot this deer.
Which there is, but if you go out there and shoot this deer during the youth hunt, you're a piece of crap.
Exactly, And he said, how many pictures have you seen with a little kid with this nice buck that you just know the adult shot?
You don't.
And
You don't know.
Well, what I told him, I was like, well, yeah, but I was like, maybe that's a possibility. But those guys who are going to do that are going to do it
Regardless.
Right.
of the youth hunt or not.
Yeah.
Right.
Said the pros of the youth hunt outweigh the con.
Yeah.
We can take our kids out. We can,
Educate them.
educate them a little bit.
Yeah.
We can get to bring them out there and teach them of how everything works.
Yeah. Passing down what we
And
learned.
we're passing it down. They get that a little bit of adrenaline rush. You get that
And a
excitement.
lot of failure.
And that excitement and a lot of failure.
Yeah.
A lot of learning right there. And I'm not going to let 1 out of 10 guys over here
Yeah.
that want to poach a deer
Right.
ruin the youth hunt for my kids.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I told him, I was like, if these guys over here that are going to misuse this youth hunt for that, even if the youth hunt wasn't there, they're still going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to find a different way
They're going to do it
to
by
do what they're
spotlight
doing. Yeah.
Or
Whatever
whatever.
they're
They'll poach whatever way
A
they want
poacher's
to.
a poacher.
A poacher is a poacher.
Exactly.
Don't take away the youth hunt, an opportunity for our kids to get engaged in this
Yeah.
just because of these guys.
Yeah.
These guys will find a way to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just, and we have to, because otherwise, if it ain't, our youth is our future.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if we don't get them engaged in this and get
We're
them,
gonna lose it.
We're going to lose it. Plain and simple. I don't care who you are. So that's why we do the free tracks for youth.
Which is awesome.
I did a track for a gentleman in over Holland Way on Sunday night after Ayla got her deer, and that was one of the big things, man. He kept thinking, and I told him it was free because it was within our distance, and I said it's free, man. He goes, no, I'm paying you, man. And I said no. I said it's free. No, let me pay. So I only turn down money twice, and then I take it. So, sorry, but you keep telling me I'm taking it. But anyways, we try to do it for free, and I tried to tell the guy, and he goes, no. He goes, man. He goes, because this is the third year. And he goes, I feel like if we wouldn't have got this deer, he would have been done.
Yeah.
He would have been done hunting. And that, to me, is worth it.
It takes a lot right now to keep a kid's
Attention.
focus.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
their
focus
attention.
and attention.
Well,
yeah.
and that's the biggest thing is like for instance, with you and Carter and Owen, you guys didn't get anything, but that's a life lesson because I feel like a lot of times these days, parents don't let their kids fail.
A lot of times.
You
For
have
sure.
to. You gotta fail. Because if you don't, then you think everything. Well, that's not the way this works. I get it because I want it. No.
Well, and the other thing I think too, Steve, with you bringing that up, is all these people saying, "Well, the dad shot it." You don't. My kids have been behind a gun since the time they were 4 years old.
Yeah.
Until I thought they could safely handle a weapon. They've been shooting, whether it be a bow, one of them little cheap Walmart recurve bows,
Absolutely.
or a 22 or a 17.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing it. So nobody knows how much training has gone into all this, but they'll just assume, well, look at that kid shot that big old buck, and dad shot it.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know shit.
You don't, because my kids have been behind all of the weapons
Yep.
growing up. My profile picture on Facebook right now is my
Liv.
6-year-old son.
Oh, I thought it was
Yeah.
Liv.
No, it was Hunter shooting a .338 Lapua
Yeah.
at 6 years old.
Yeah.
Don't tell me a kid can't handle something because he's too young.
Yeah.
A 6 years old shooting .338 Lapua.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
come on.
But yeah, that's my biggest thing with the youth hunt. I see the same thing with like a big conversation at a lot of the dog shows that we do with Penny is it's fallen off, and the biggest reason is there's no youth getting into it. There's no youth people coon hunting,
Yeah.
and that's what's hard with
lost art.
any. Yeah, well, that's the thing with anything these days is people just rather, not deal with their kids and deal with the whining. And it's like, no, when I was a kid, my dad brought me everywhere. We were just told to shut up. So I learned a lot by just shutting up and watching what my dad was doing.
Well, we've talked about it before. I mean, we can't. If I told my kids just shut up and be quiet and watch, I would lose them faster than I got them into it.
Absolutely.
Well,
back when you guys started, we didn't have Android cell phones that could get internet service in the middle of the state game area.
Yeah.
That had access to games and all that crap. We didn't have that. So
when I first started hunting, I had a Shaquille O'Neal watch just so I could tell time.
You were a badass.
Oh yeah.
Oh no. my parents got me a Shaquille O'Neal watch, and I can still remember 7:25 was the hot time.
Dad saying, "Don't get down till that says 10:30." If you do, well, you're gonna be getting drug out that day.
I remember watching Shaquille O'Neal. He was shooting a free throw, which he sucked at, but it was 7:25 on that watch was the hot time.
Yeah.
See, and that's all stuff that I think is.
Those are memories.
It's all memories, and I'm hoping Owen right now. He's 9. He don't have any real great memories of hunting because he hasn't had an opportunity. But
but he will.
He's had times behind your house even where he's almost had it, and he's gotten that shake, and he's gonna remember that.
They're coming in.
Right.
They're right there.
And Carter's gotten 2 now, but he's almost 11 too. Yeah. So he's had a few more years under his belt. But I just, a lot of people complain about the management and everything in the state, but I personally thank the Michigan Department of Natural Resources for allowing the kids to get out and do this.
Oh, for sure.
Because without it, we got no future.
No.
I mean, I really feel like our generation is almost the end of it if we don't get our kids in.
It is, for real. I mean, look at the way things are going.
Yeah.
If we don't get our kids into it, who's gonna step up next?
Yeah.
We got to get our kids into this.
It's not going to be these vegan, transgendered, bun people.
Yeah,
out the deer out there.
You know what I mean? Thems and theys.
Yes.
Thems and theys.
But before we go too far off the rocker on that one, we've been here for almost 2 hours.
Hey, don't hate me, but hate me if you want to. I'm okay with that.
We've been here for almost 2 hours.
These are our own
this.
opinions.
And I think this is a good.
My opinion is not sponsored by anybody.
Right, exactly.
Thank God.
Our opinions are our own.
Hey, but before anything, I just want to say, because if it wasn't for our veterans, we wouldn't be able to do this.
No.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I would like to just thank anybody that served. I mean, your brothers, my brother, because if it wasn't
all
for
of
them, everybody, any line of service, whether you're a cop, anybody that fights for our freedom.
Right.
John Barnesy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
John
Barnesy's been overseas more than I would care to be there at all.
Absolutely.
But no, I mean, I appreciate your guys' time and congratulations to Hunter and Ayla on their deer. They both got does this year. They're both now. I mean, you said you're going to buy another tag for them. You're hoping to, Steve.
Yeah.
Ayla probably can't this year.
Yeah, probably. I don't think I will.
Just trying to get Hunter another doe tag. So.
I think Gracie might want to get out there. I don't know yet. Okay. She's 16, 16 and a girl, so.
Yeah, she's more interested in her boyfriend than her phone right
she
now.
broke up with him, so. Hope she listens to this.
Right.
You should take your boyfriend hunting out back a little bit.
Yeah, get him out.
If he's not taking you hunting, he's not worth it anyway.
Yes, exactly.
But anyways, guys, thank you very much for taking your time. And
thanks for listening.
Yeah. This is about a 2-hour podcast, so if you stuck with us through this long a time, we really appreciate it.
Greatly appreciate it.
There are so many hunting and outdoor podcasts out there anymore that if you choose to listen to ours, I am very grateful for that.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much, and we'll be bringing you more content here in the next week, but thank you for listening. Listen, like, subscribe, give us a review if you can. We appreciate each and every one of you because if it wasn't for you, we couldn't do what we do. But
For sure.
We will talk to you all again in another week. Good luck out there. It's almost deer season. So be safe out there. Wear your safety harness. If you're in the tree stand, wear your safety harness.
Do it.
Be safe. Be smart. Kill clean.
Aim small, miss small.
Aim small, miss small. Apologize to nobody. Do it your way.
Otherwise,
legally.
Yeah.
Clint's going to charge you extra to track your deer.
But hunt your hunt. And as long as you're enjoying it, Overdrive Outdoors is here to celebrate it with you, no matter how it was done, as long as it was legal. Spike to non-typical 200-incher. We love them all. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you all again later.
Good night.